Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Wartrain here. If you're new, do me a favor, please subscribe and click that notification bell down below so that you guys can be notified of all my new videos. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And with that said, today's video, I want to talk about this announcement and reveal of the Nintendo Switch Lite. That is correct. The Nintendo is not calling this thing the Switch Mini. It's called the Switch Lite. And you know what? It's not really a shock considering that this thing is definitely light on some features. But we all knew that this was going to happen. The Nintendo Switch Lite does not hook up to a TV at all, so can it really be called a Switch still? I mean, I guess you would just call it the Nintendo Switch family, because it will still play Nintendo Switch games. It's just becoming a handheld only and will not switch. But technically you could still put it in tabletop mode, even though they don't consider it tabletop mode because it doesn't have a kickstand anymore. But there's third-party things that you can still use to basically stand it up, because I say you could still sort of put it in tabletop mode because you can actually sync controllers through Bluetooth to it. So I mean, technically it's still kind of doing tabletop, you just don't have a kickstand. Which, the lack of the kickstand is probably a good thing, because the kickstand that was on the current Nintendo Switch really wasn't that good of a kickstand. The thing popped off, it was cheap, flimsy plastic. I mean, really, it just kind of covered where you put the SD card. A lot of people used other means to put it in tabletop mode anyway. There's a bunch of third-party stuff that you can pick up, and actually, I have a third-party kickstand on my Nintendo Switch and have had it on there for a long time. I actually use a metal one and it's way sturdier, but I don't really use it in tabletop mode too often. Honestly, I just put it in docked mode or use it specifically in handheld mode, but I do use both modes quite a bit. I am very interested in picking up a Nintendo Switch Lite because I do play in handheld mode enough to warrant one of these. I take this thing to work with me every day, and the current Nintendo Switch is definitely a bit big and bulky, especially once you have it inside of a case. It's a lot to lug around. So with this thing being smaller, I could definitely see it being easier to bring around with me. And what do you guys think of the colors? I don't know what to think. I mean, they're definitely cool. It's hard to choose which one I like the best. I know this turquoise definitely catches my eye more than the other two. The gray is kind of bland and the yellow is, it's okay. But the turquoise is definitely an eye catcher. I think red really would have set it off. But unfortunately, they didn't announce a red one. But we can hope maybe in the future that they do. Because the thing with this is I can see them definitely putting out special editions and different color variants over time. Because I think this thing is going to sell like crazy. Because being that this thing is $200 and coming out alongside Zelda, Link's Awakening, this thing's going to sell massively. And I believe they're going to put out other versions down the road just because they know people will buy them. I mean, let's face it. There's people out there that will collect every single version of this, especially people that are just total fanatics with handhelds, because handhelds are definitely cool. There's no doubt about it, and it's not a shock that this thing's coming out the same day as Link's Awakening. I mean, in my other videos, I actually talk about this, that I believe it will be coming out for that game or before it for that game, you know, and especially too before Pokemon Sword and Shield, because these are heavy hitters coming in games that either were almost always on handhelds or that will just be perfect for a handheld. So it's definitely no coincidence and not a shock, not at all. Especially if you watch my other videos talking about the leaks and stuff we had. In my opinion, every time I was said September, it was my opinion, and that we could get a reveal any day from that video on. And here we go. Today was the day we got this dropped early in the morning. I actually made a quick video on the fly. I was going into work. I was driving and I made a video on the way because I wanted to get this out there. I was super excited. This thing is really cool, but you know, we knew this thing was coming. It was definitely no secret. Nintendo was the only one still acting like it was a secret. But you know, you're losing some features being that it's the Lite. We knew that it wasn't going to come with a dock, and it doesn't, and it's not even dockable. So, that might be a deal breaker for some people, but for me personally, it's not. Who knows, maybe down the road they may even come out with something that could make it able to dock up to a TV. We don't know. Maybe they'll address that in the future, or maybe they'll just keep it handheld specific. Because they still do have the current Nintendo Switch and whatever Nintendo Switch Pro or whatever version they're working on still. Because I believe that version is definitely going to be coming soon, but they had to get this one out first because it's just they need something to basically cover the 3DS line. The 3DS, 2DS line, this is pretty much, I think, the last nail in the coffin for it. Nintendo did their part. They supported the 3DS, 2DS line for a long time. And I don't know what else people can expect. It's still selling, and who knows, it still could be on stores. But, I mean, let's face it, these stores are going to want to make room for this. And we already know that the 2DS, 3DS line, their presence in stores has very much dwindled. It's gotten a lot smaller, and now with something like this, I could see them kind of wanting to wipe it. You know, so don't be surprised if you see some of that stuff go on clearance or some really good sales. I mean, I'll be there to snatch some games up because I'm a big fan of the 3DS, 2DS line. Who knows, I might even pick up a console on the cheap, you know. I am definitely not opposed to that. And keep your eyes open for that, because that could be happening sooner than later, especially with the holidays not too far up ahead, and with this thing about to drop on store shelves September 20th. So, exciting times. But this thing, why I'm most excited is the D-pad. I am so excited to get a Nintendo official D-pad. I mean, because they do make good D-pads, and I just can't wait to see how this one feels and is compared to some of their other systems and their D-pads. And it will have a smaller screen, and the smaller screen is still 720, but it's probably going to look better because the pixels will be smaller. We'll have to wait and see what this thing's like when it gets released. We'll have to take a look at it and, you know, just get a feel for it, see how this thing actually feels in hand and what it looks like, you know, looking at the screen. I'm really excited. My biggest thing is what color to get. It's definitely a tough choice, but they did try to hide their bezels, and I kind of like how they did this. Since they did keep the bezels, at least they colored them to try to shrink the look of the bezels. I think that was a good idea, and we'll be able to see better when this thing actually launches. But this thing's going to be way more sturdy without the kickstand on the back, without the removable Joy-Cons, because let's face it, people were getting cracks in theirs, and the Joy-Cons would get loose because the rails. I mean, anytime you have mechanical, like moving parts like that, things are going to get worn out and break down. It's just something that's going to happen over time. And I know my Joy-Cons get loose, and every once in a while I'll buy a new set, and then the new ones go on and they're nice and snug for a while, and then eventually they loosen up. But the main problem I had was the left Joy-Con, the thumbstick, over time drifting to the point where it was almost unusable, and no amount of cleaning it could help it. And we actually found out that inside there's a design flaw with the way that the Joy-Con is actually built, or the way that the thumbstick is actually built. So hopefully that is addressed, and if it's not, at least, you know, the left thumbstick is replaceable. Maybe not the easiest, but at least it's replaceable. For some people, they aren't mechanically inclined, that's going to be maybe an issue. So definitely something to think about and consider. I don't know how long that would take for that to happen. If it does happen, hopefully it won't. Hopefully Nintendo actually got better thumbsticks this time, something more durable, because these things aren't going to be getting swapped out. It's pretty much going to be your main set of controls. But the actual Switch Lite itself is going to be way more sturdier, could probably take hits harder if you drop it or whatever, just because of some of those parts, and they become weak spots, and those weak spots will be eliminated. A lot of them anyway. You always have some, but that's definitely a pretty big deal. And I think it's different how they everything's kind of like white. The buttons, the joysticks, that's definitely different. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments down below. And let me know what colors you would pick if you got one of these. Or let me know what colors you actually would like to see. Definitely interested in, what things people would like to see, or what special editions you would like to see. I know I would have loved to see a Link's Awakening one, and I would have bought that day one, hands down, no questions asked. Here's my money. But we didn't get that announced, unfortunately. There is a Pokemon for Pokemon Sword and Shield announced, so that thing will probably sell out fast. So if you want to pre-order that, you might want to jump on the pre-order as soon as possible. But let me know what you guys think of this thing in the comments down below. Do you think this thing's going to sell well? I know I definitely think this thing is going to sell like crazy, and I think it's going to pretty much wipe out the 2DS, 3DS line pretty much for good, especially because we know Nintendo isn't planning on making any new games for it. So I believe they're going to focus on this specifically now, and this is the future for Nintendo. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. And if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. I make content like this every day. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. That's the video. I'm the War Train, and I'm out. Have a good one, guys.